and welcome to another episode of BTC Sports Line. I'm your host, Michelle. Along with me here, my co-host, Ray. Well, a lot has happened in the world of sports since we last saw you, and I would like to start off by congratulating the Cleveland Cavaliers on their first ever franchise championship and first title for the city of Cleveland since 1964. It was well-deserved, but at the same time a little debatable to others, and we will be getting into all that a little later. First, I would like to briefly discuss the COPA America games and the USA vs. Argentina match that just occurred on Tuesday night. And later in the show, we will be discussing the stunning finish to the NBA Finals, and also we will be bringing a guest on to talk about the Dallas Cowboys mini camps and upcoming season, along with how the Seahawks can match up against them when the 2016 football season kicks off. So before we get into all that, let's get right into the USA vs. Argentina matchup. It was a rather disappointing game for Team USA. With high hopes going into it, the team just couldn't stack up to the #1 ranked team in the world. Argentina didn't take long to strike, with the first goal of the game coming 3 minutes into the match, followed by a free kick by Messi in the 30th minute, with USA down 2-0 at half. With nothing seeming to work right for USA, time of possession clearly won by Argentina with a 67 to 33% comparison. 2 more goals were scored in the second half, with a beautiful assist coming from Messi to top it all off and seal the victory for Argentina at the end. The only hopes of bouncing back from the worst ever loss by USA in the Copa Games will be coming on Saturday in a third-place match against Colombia. But if anything can be said at all for this loss, it is that it was a good learning experience for USA going against a very talented Argentina team and the best player in the world in Messi. So I don't know about you, Ray, but I expect to see a little more life out of USA in this next matchup. I don't care the opponent. Losing 4-0 to a team when those games are being played at home has got to be disheartening, not only for the fans, but the players as well. So I expect to see a lot more out of USA in this next match. And speaking of bounce-back performances, when we come back from break, we will be discussing the Cavs' very own history-making comeback they had against the Warriors and going over just exactly what went right for the Cavs during those last 3 games and how it all just seemed to fall apart for Golden State in the end. Don't go away. You don't want to miss this. Welcome back to BTC Sports Line. So in the last episode you saw us, myself and Ray had some bold predictions about the NBA Finals. We mentioned the unlikeliness of a comeback by the Cavaliers and how the Warriors would more than likely be claiming their 2nd championship in a row. Well, Ray, are you ready to discuss what exactly went wrong for the Warriors and in return had a rippling effect on our predictions for the series?
Before we get into all that, Michelle, let's take a look at games 5, 6, and 7. And give our viewers a quick reminder of how the Cavs and Warriors battled it out and how the Warriors were ultimately dethroned of their title.
The first one was Game 7 in OKC. Curry to Thompson. Thompson stripped to Iguodala. Layup is good. But the team would love nothing more than to clinch without him here tonight. And Joe, as Irving makes a dandy defended. Ball knocked away by Barnes. Iguodala ahead to Curry. Shumpert in pursuit. Blocked by James. Rejects it out of bounds. Livingston sees an opening and throws it down. Wow. Irving pokes it away and comes up with a steal on the lazy pass. And Kyrie Irving banks it in. This arena tonight is off the charts as we get set. Irving fakes, drives, James on the front. James down low, back up top, J.R. Smith for 3. James to Thompson. Oh, what a pass. Irving, Smith, Thompson, and Shumpert. J.R. Smith throws it up. And
pick and roll action is forcing him to defend.
Alley-oop to Thompson. Curry gets away from Irving. Pass inside, stolen by Irving. Throws it ahead to Smith. Smith, alley-oop to James. Wow. Arena is alive and roaring. The Cavalier offense the last couple of games has been so efficient as Kyrie Irving. And coming into Game 7, Irving off the glass and 1. Irving drives and finishes. To know why they're so effective in making it difficult to score as Barnes gets inside. Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection.
Wow, Ray. That last block by LeBron, I have a feeling that's going to be in highlight reels for years to come.
Maybe. It's just like all the other blocks he makes in that same position. He likes to trail the offensive player on fast breaks and make a big block.
Yeah, but this particular block kind of sealed the deal for the Cavs. I mean, they didn't score a single point after that block. They could have taken the lead there. They could have made it more of a matchup, and they didn't score again.
I understand why you're saying it. It is Game 7 of the Finals, which makes perfect sense why you would say that it's such a dramatic block. But that's LeBron's MO to make that block. If he doesn't make that block, then he's not playing up to his ability.
If he doesn't make that block, the game could have ended differently.
Yeah, I don't really think so at that point. It was pretty disheartening for the Warriors coming with the Cavaliers coming back from that major deficit and being the first team in NBA history to come back from a 3-1 deficit in the finals.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I mean, the Warriors did it to OKC, in the Western Conference Finals, so it's not unheard of, and
well, it is unheard of in the finals, though.
It is
It hasn't been done before.
Not anymore.
It's actually one of the crowning achievements in basketball history. It's the first time ever.
How do you feel about that, LeBron?
You know how I feel about LeBron as a person. I don't really care for him, but I do respect his basketball play. And the Warriors' collapse was pretty dramatic. But I think that there was other things that led up to them collapsing in that series. Draymond not being there in Game 5 was, a tide turner. It was one of the biggest things. Who suspends a top 3 player on either team in Game 5 of the NBA Finals, ready to close it out?
Yeah.
The NBA.
Yeah, under who was prompting for that to happen?
It's ridiculous. The same penalty that he got thrown out for or suspended from the game for is the same thing that LeBron did himself in Game 2.
But he was still there.
But he had no problem. But LeBron complained, and LeBron's the face of the NBA, if you will. And that's how.
So we don't want to get fined by the NBA or anything. So let's change the direction of the conversation here. LeBron was awarded MVP of the finals. 27 points in that last game, 11 rebounds, 11 assists, triple double, 2 steals, 3 blocks. He had 40+ points in games 5 and 6. Did he deserve that MVP title, or was Kyrie kind of overshadowed by LeBron?
I think that LeBron James, anytime he wins a series, will be considered the MVP of the series.
They were talking about him getting the MVP even if they didn't win the series.
That's ridiculous, by the way. The fact that they were even mentioning that is crazy talk. How can you give somebody the MVP of the series that's not even, the winner of the series? Obviously, they weren't the most valuable player out there because they didn't win. But Kyrie Irving was a huge catalyst for LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And like I said in our last show, that they both needed to have a big performance. And they came out in Game 5 and had a huge performance. Both of them over 40 points, which is dramatic. So they basically had a long shot to make it back, and they accomplished it.
Now, I've heard rumors, or not rumors really, but just rumblings that, the Cavaliers needed LeBron to leave to go to Miami to get this championship. Without LeBron leaving, they don't get these first-round picks, and Kyrie, they don't bring Kevin Love in by trading Wiggins. So without him leaving, they don't get this championship.
I think it makes sense what you're saying, but it's ridiculous. The fact that LeBron turned his back on his own hometown, his home city, the team that drafted him, the place where he grew up his whole life, and he leaves them to go play with a stacked team to win a couple championships. He should have won more if he was a better player. But him saying that they had to have LeBron leave so they could get these number 1 draft picks. Kyrie Irving's a great player. No one's going to discredit that. He's one of the fastest point guards in the NBA, and his ball skills were amazing in the finals. But LeBron himself, he can go anywhere he wants to. They'll stack a team for him, and he'll go ahead and win another championship.
Speaking of, do you think he's going to leave Cleveland again?
I think so. I personally think he's gonna leave. He might go to New York. I could see him going with the Knicks, with Carmelo Anthony, and now Derrick Rose, who just got traded over there, which could be a great thing if Derrick Rose could stay healthy.
That's a
dramatic deal too. He hasn't been healthy since he won his MVP title for the NBA, but he's only 26 years old.
Kind of a selfish player. He's got to learn to pass the ball.
Yeah, Carmelo is a little bit of a ball hog. He always has been his whole career, even with Syracuse, but that's because he's so dominant. He hasn't really trusted anyone else to hold the ball when he has the opportunity to score.
Well, if you put Carmelo with LeBron, so a player that doesn't want to pass the ball, to a player that constantly passes the ball, I mean, it could be a deadly duo.
Yeah, well, you know,
The new big three.
You look at LeBron throughout his career. He doesn't want to take that big shot because he's missed so many of them, and I think it hurts his ego. But then you have Carmelo Anthony, who's always willing to take that shot. Like he's like a Kobe Bryant. He'll take the shot anytime. You give him the ball, he'll shoot. Not scared at all. So it's he could also end up in LA. I could see that occurring too. You know, Kevin Durant's also a free agent right now. LeBron stated that he's not leaving Cleveland, but he did not sign another contract.
He did that before too, if I remember correctly.
Absolutely. And then he had a news conference and, you know, a 2-hour special to say they're going to win not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, 30,000 trophies or something like that.
It kind of rubs it in their faces.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible, I think, personally. I can't the one thing that I don't like about LeBron is, you know, just his smug attitude. Like, I don't mind him as a basketball player. He's a good basketball player. Not the greatest by any means or any stretch of the word greatest. I don't even know if he's the best player now. There's definitely an argument for other players to be as good as him.
Well, speaking of best player now, the draft is coming up. So we got some new young talent coming into the league. Ben Simmons is expected to go number 1 overall to the 76ers. I think the Lakers have the number 2 pick, and your team, the Celtics, got the number 3 pick. So what's your thoughts on who's coming into the league, these young players? Is it more upside that you're looking for, or is it battle-tested players that you would want?
I think a lot of it is looking for who's going to have the best career overall. A lot of these players are young, like you said. There's only one that's going to probably be a top 5 pick that's a senior out of, you know, in the whole draft. There's not many players out there that are getting the credit that they should as a senior. I hope that the Celtics, my team, as you said, will go ahead and pick up Buddy Hield from Oklahoma. I mean, he was incredible through the NCAA tournament. He's a senior, battle-tested. He carried his team by himself.
Okay, because they're rumored to be drafting Jamal Murray, a 19-year-old freshman out of Kentucky.
And that could happen too. The Celtics are just one step away from being a contender in the Eastern Conference, because as we discussed before, Eastern Conference isn't very strong. So the fact that they made it into the playoffs this year, and they looked like they were pretty good, but they have their guards pretty much sold up with Avery Bradley and Isaiah Thomas.
Our boy Isaiah, representing.
Gotta love Isaiah. So it's important to just draft towards maybe the future. They have 8 picks in the draft, so they may even go with some European players and leave them over in Europe so they don't have to pay them in a contract or overload their team at this point. So there's about 10 good European players that are coming out. 2 from Croatia, which has a 2 million person population. It's like the size of New Jersey. It's crazy.
Wow.
Well, there's almost as much debate about this final series as there will be with our next guest that's coming out to discuss his knowledge of the Cowboys' upcoming season and what they need to do to get back on top and reclaim that title. America's team, don't go anywhere. It's going to be good.
Welcome back to BTC Sports Line. We have with us today Theron Rivers, a die-hard Cowboys fan. Theron will be helping us to understand why he thinks the Cowboys can move past an injury-plagued season last year with a 4-12 record and make that jump into first place in the NFC East. Thanks for being with us today, Theron.
Thanks for having me.
Me and Ray will try to take it easy on you.
That's all right.
So the Cowboys and Seahawks only actually meet this year in the preseason game in the third week, and we don't see each other again until, you know, maybe the postseason. So what are your thoughts so far on how minicamp's going for your team and what your predictions of the season will look like?
So far, all the reports have been pretty positive. Elliott's doing his job. He's studying. Ezekiel Elliott's really studying hard. He's learning how to pick up exotic defenses on third down. They said that he's a phenomenal student on the field as well as off the field. So I think that's going to do nothing but help him. And he's been taking private sessions with Tony Romo, just handing off the ball, coming out of the backfield.
Oh, Tony Romo's healthy again?
Yeah, definitely healthy.
Okay.
Said Tony Romo actually said it's the best he's felt in years.
No
injuries.
Last surgery.
Yeah, no injuries. You know, feels good. The back is better. So
speaking on injuries, Darren McFadden is hurt now too. Another injury-plagued player, broken elbow. So Elliott's actually going to be getting a lot of the touches in training camp, and that'll probably prepare him more so for that lead role.
He's actually taking all the first-team reps right now. Ezekiel Elliott's taking all the first-team reps. They said that he broke 2 touchdowns coming out of the backfield, and everybody in training camp just exploded on. Nobody could catch him. They couldn't believe the speed and the power that he has at such a young age. Once he burned the linebacker, that was it. There was nobody that could catch him.
Well, we hope so, but as we all know, the Cowboys' defense is very suspect overall after last season. They did awful. I mean, the only thing, and then they go into the draft this year and they draft all offensive players. I don't understand their idea.
They did take
Jalen Smith
Yes,
in the
who
second
may
round.
never play a down of football in his entire
Well, the thing
career.
was, the starters that we had were injured last year too. So Orlando Scandrick's back, Mo Claiborne's back, our secondary's back. The only thing, the trouble that we have is our defense up front. Everything starts up front, and if we can't get a rush on
that's
the
the biggest
quarterback,
problem that you have.
we're going to have the same problem we had
Everything
before.
starts
But
up
we also have Randy Gregory up
It
front.
was a pretty slick move of Romo going down with his 13th injury for his career, and then the Cowboys finishing 4-12 so they could get a solid draft pick. But then they reach for a running back when the NFL has kind of gone away from getting a running back in the early rounds of the draft. Like Mo Morris, your backup running back, he was a 5th round
Alfred
draft
Morris?
pick. Alfred Morris, sorry. He was a 5th round draft pick, and he came out and played really well. But he's also injury plagued too. So now you got 2 injury plagued. Well, one who's out with Darren McFadden, Alfred Morris, who's injury plagued throughout his career, and then you have an unproven.
But then we still have- but
with
then-
Washington. He's been pretty solid for
We
Washington.
still have Lance Dunbar, who's one of the still fastest players in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he destroyed the Seahawks when we played coming out on third down, coming out of the backfield. Nobody could catch him again.
That's because it was 3rd down and you had 15 yards to go. So I mean, it was hard for them to go ahead and set up a 8 in the box. So anybody can run on just a weak defensive set. It's on the 1st and 2nd down when you prove your might as a running back.
But third down's one of the most important downs in the game. It can either make you or break
No
you on
one's
third
gonna
down.
argue that.
Every game, you know what I mean? And
Because if you get to 3rd down, you need to get a 1st down, or it's 4th down, and now you need to punt the ball.
Absolutely,
we all
absolutely.
understand that.
But what
That's
I'm
basic
saying
mathematics.
is, on third down, he was hands down on third down. The same way Ezekiel Elliott's going to be on third down.
Gonna be.
That's all
We
I'm
say
saying.
dominating.
gonna be. That's
and
all on paper.
He's taken
We
every
can
snap
Look
for
at
third down.
other high draft pick running backs that are come out high profile and where they've ended up in the NFL so far. I mean, look at Trent Richardson. How's he doing right now?
I think he actually signed with the team. Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
Richardson. So
You
he's
know?
getting another
Well,
shot.
Cedric Benson was another high draft pick. that
Here's what I'm
didn't
saying.
amount to much.
The smarts of Elliott is going to make the difference. His speed is going to make a difference, and the dominant offensive line for the Cowboys is definitely going to make a difference.
There's no running back coming out in the combine going into the draft that isn't fast. Period. So his speed is his speed.
Okay.
But
But we also talk about his mental smarts. He's very smart. He's already understanding the playbook. Everything they're asking him to do
Everything in the
on
NFL
paper.
coming out, he's doing. But
happens
that's where it
faster than in
starts.
college.
That's where it starts on paper.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
you know.
if you look at him saying he's mentally smart, he went to Ohio State. Ohio State has been known to allow their players to continue going to practice.
That
and
has
playing
nothing to do
football.
with his football IQ.
I'm
and his,
saying that
and-
ultimately Ohio State is not a proven school to show that he's.
Speaking of
We're
a
not
good
talking
player.
about Ohio
Boys,
State.
speaking
We're
of
talking
Ohio
about
State-
Ezekiel
they're talking
Elliott.
about Ohio State right now.
Yeah,
'Cause,
okay.
The Seahawks actually drafted a tight end out of Ohio State, and he is making a big splash in minicamp. Or not, minicamp and making a great repertoire with Russell Wilson. He's known as a blocking tight end. I don't think Ohio State really gave him a chance to really catch many balls. They had Ezekiel Elliott taking a lot of the attention.
Third down.
So, Ray, what are your thoughts on Nick Vannett, our tight end that we drafted out of Ohio State?
Vannett is, I mean, he's a huge guy. He's got all the size and talent of like some of these huge tight ends that you see out there, like Jimmy Graham and like a Rob Gronkowski. He's been a blocking tight end traditionally through college because of having a standout running back through college to be able to block for him. But it goes back to the fact that you got your blockers for your running back. Are they who make the running back good?
I think we talked about this last week.
It's a
Combination.
very with a
with
quarterback
our
wide
quarterback
receiver
and wide receiver combo.
Combination.
Absolutely. So, if you don't have the blocks up front, then you can't run the ball. Not everybody's a Barry Sanders out there, or Jim Brown.
We have those guys up front. Darren McFadden, who was like a second-tier player when he came to the Cowboys, ran for over 1,000 yards
He
last
was
year.
only a second-tier player because he's hurt all the time.
Okay,
He's
but
got
still,
the talent,
it's
he just can't stay
okay.
healthy.
But look what he did with no quarterback. We didn't have a starting quarterback, and just
You
an
don't have a
offensive
starting
line.
quarterback ever.
No defense, but the Seahawks beat them by 1 point last
Tony
year
Romo.
with no starting quarterback. and a second-tier
Any
running
given
back
Sunday,
can beat us
any
by
team
1.
can win.
So if we're
won,
going to get
though,
back
right?
into defenses, that defense doesn't sound so great. You're losing to a team with no starting You almost lost to a team with no starting quarterback and a second-tier
Almost
running back
doesn't
that ran
count,
for
though.
1,000
We
yards
won,
last
and
year.
that's what matters. in the end.
13 to what was it? 13 to 12.
13 to 12.
That's a
the
big
Sox-
win.
the Hawks
That
had a
doesn't say
4-4
very much for
record.
your defense either,
It's
though.
a W in the win
Okay,
column,
so
and
the
that's all that
Seahawks-
matters.
It is.
The Hawks
It
were
is.
kind of struggling. You know, they had a 4-4 record at that point. You know, the Cowboys were 2-5. So it was maybe a turning point for the Seahawks to kind of turn things
Could've been.
around.
Could've been.
You know, just because we only won by 1 point.
And we
still
just
won.
kept losing defensive players that year. That's what killed us last year. And our starting quarterback was out.
Well, the
so.
Seahawks have faced their own injuries. We lost Thomas Rawls, Jimmy Graham, two big-time players that are making big impacts for us. But they're both healthy now, and they're expected to be back week 1 and ready to go, along with Tony Romo and Des Bryant coming back for the Cowboys. So how do we see
Sean Lee.
these healthy players coming back affecting each team and benefiting them for that, if they can stay healthy?
As far as offensive goes, I really think we're pretty tight on offense. We're set. We can score the points on offense, especially now. Romo's healthy. We have 2 decent running backs. We still have Des Bryant, Williams, our wide receiver. We got one of the greatest tight ends to ever play in Jason Witten.
Witten's
So
pretty old by
offensively,
now, isn't he?
It's pretty old.
but he's still doing what he does. It
I mean,
hasn't
he's
changed.
more
He
of a
hasn't dropped
possession
off.
receiver anymore.
He
and-
hasn't dropped off at all.
He's
And
pretty
what it all
close,
stems
though,
with your entire team is that, I mean, you do have three really good offensive linemen, and no one's going to question that about
We
the
have
Dallas.
5 good
You have
offensive
3
linemen.
really good offensive linemen.
Who do you
they,
think that
and
they
they're
are?
and they're all up on contract this year too. So you're not going to be able to keep all of them either. So going forward, Tony Romo has to have blocking, or he's made of glass back
He's
there.
one
Leo
hit
Collins
away.
is on
He's
his
one
left
hit
side
away.
now, and he's a
He's-
rookie. He's got a rookie on his left side just crushing people, pancaking people like it's no big deal. So we're not worried about that.
Well, as
Our
far as we
centers,
know,
we're getting ready to re-sign.
in rookie training, in mini camps, in rookie camp, you don't really know
No,
how
last
these
year he
people are
dominated
going
last. Leo Collins dominated last year.
Yeah.
He was pancaking people like they were munchkins.
So what if Romo does get hurt again? Worst case scenario, Romo gets hurt. He's 1 hurt away from his season and his career being done.
Kellen
The
Moore can
Cowboys
come in
drafted
and-
Dak Prescott.
They did draft Dak Prescott. We have Kellen Moore, who's played a lot last season and
Most
kinda
winning
got
QB
his
in college hasn't transferred to the pros.
That's true. I like Dak Prescott because he's a two-way player. He can run and he can pass.
Kind
and
of like
he's a playmaker.
Tony Romo, or Russell Wilson rather.
No, he's better than
Russell
anyway.
Wilson, the only person to rush for
He's
500
better than
yards.
wait, did you just say he's
4,000
better than
yards
Russell
passing.
Wilson?
He will be better
Okay,
than
There's
that
no
is a
way.
very
He has a
bold
lot of
prediction
potential.
against a championship quarterback, saying that someone that hasn't even played a down
Not an
is
offensive
better.
championship quarterback, a defensive champion. The defense won that championship.
What was the
Defense
final
wins
score
Score
in that
enough
Super
points
Bowl?
to beat
Defense
anybody.
wins
43 to
championships.
8.
40, yeah.
And who'd you
The
play?
Broncos.
The Denver Broncos, one of the most
Yeah.
prolific offenses
Yeah.
at that time, and one of the best
Oh.
defenses
With
at
the
that
hurt,
time too.
with the hurt, what's his name? With the hurt quarterback.
Peyton Manning,
Peyton Manning
was not
started and
hurt.
played every down in that
That-
until
And
they
that's
took
it.
him
No,
out.
no,
thinking
that
of the
whole
season
year he was
before.
hurt. The whole season he was hurt.
No,
And
that
he-
was
he
his
was
first
shaky,
year with the
shaky.
Broncos.
Yes.
That was his first year with the
That he
Broncos
was hurt?
that we won that championship.
That's the year he was hurt all the time. Didn't he get another surgery?
He's like 50 years old. He's almost hurt all the time
He's,
anyway.
he's
Yeah, that
almost
foot-
hurt as
that
much
foot
as
thing.
Tony Romo.
But
Let's
that's
be
all right.
honest.
That's all right.
But it was still the
When-
number 1 offense that the NFL has almost ever seen
And
coming
one of the
against
best
the defense.
defenses,
And
too.
we scored
I'll give-
43 points
yeah,
to 8
yeah.
points on
Yeah,
them.
it was.
That
So yes,
that
our
game
defense
was,
did shut them down, but our offense stepped up too and scored points.
It was. I hate seeing blowouts in any game.
But right now we're
especially in the
talking
Super Bowl.
about history,
right.
kind of like what you guys do when you talk about your franchise. We're talking about the history of our championship that we won. You guys always talk about how many rings you
Well,
have.
you're talking about the history of your 1 championship, but
Yeah.
we're talking about the history
Yeah.
of our 5.
So
History
to get on
is history
track,
either
we're
way.
not
Either
talking
way.
about what
Either way.
happened. We're talking about
next
what's
year.
going to happen.
Exactly.
Next year.
So Romo,
Coming-
Dez, and Elliott have actually been referred to as the triplets.
The new triplets, yes.
So this
yes.
is kind of hard for me to understand when you have an injury-plagued player, a player that's kind of a prima donna, and then a player that hasn't even played a single down for the NFL
injuries
yet.
that Tony Romo's had have been addressed. The back surgery has been addressed. He feels fine. Had shoulder surgery, put a plate in. It's been almost 14 or 15 months since he's had that surgery.
So he's due for another
He said
injury
he's
then,
ready to
is what
go.
you're saying.
He said he feels fine. He's the best he's felt in years.
I have a question
know?
as far as like you being at as you as a Cowboys fan and watching the original triplets. Can you really consider these
Not
guys
yet.
as good as the ones
I haven't
that
seen
were there?
it yet. I haven't seen it.
I
Once
mean,
it happens,
as
I
a
can
fan,
see
I
it.
can't.
And the difference is when Wilson gets hurt, which he will get hurt eventually because every quarterback does, then we'll see the true resolve
We'll
of your
see.
team.
We'll see.
What
Okay,
happens
well, we're
when,
running out of
when he
time
gets
here,
hurt.
guys. Theron, thank you for coming on the show.
Yes.
We appreciate it. That was some good talk.
Yes.
And once again, I would like to thank all of you for tuning in to BTC Sports Line, the show that's always chasing those top stories and keeping our fans in the know of whatever is calling our line the sports line. We'll see you next time.
Cowboys.